guys, welcome back to my Python Paper 2 Computer Science coding tutorials. Today we're going to be talking about operators. This is the sort of video where you can just come back to and refresh your memory. This is all about operators. So first of all, what is an operator? It's basically a thing where you have one number and then you have something like plus, for instance, and then another number. Arithmetic operators use numbers, but there's a couple other ones that use slightly different things. So let's start with the arithmetic operators. You're going to know most of these, hopefully, and you've definitely used some before. So there's slash, which is division, times, which is multiplication, star, which is, it's called exponentiation, but that just means raising it to a power. Plus, which is addition, minus, which is subtraction, slash, which is either called integer or floor division, and then there's modulus, which is the percent operator. So most of these are pretty simple. Division, you have one number and another number, and it returns a float of a divided by b. So this is just the same as the divide sign, it's just that's not on most keyboards, so they use a slash instead. Multiplication, I think I mentioned this before, use the asterisk symbol, which is above the 8. Once again, because x, the letter is x, and there isn't a time symbol on most keyboards. And this just times two numbers together. And also, for a couple of these, like times and plus, these work in some cases on strings, like if you add two strings together, they stick together, and if you times a string, it repeats a string by how many other times. But for now, we'll just be talking about how they're used in numbers, because these are the arithmetic ones. So this exponentiation, all this means is a to the power of b, if you do it like this. Sometimes when people write down maths on computers, they use a caret symbol, which is above the 6. But in Python, you use 2 stars. And then obviously a plus b, you add those two numbers, a minus b, subtracts b from a. And so these are the weird ones which you probably will. These are the weird ones you probably won't have seen. A slash b basically means do a divided by b, but then round down the answer. So this is the same as floor or math.floor. You'd have to import, if you're doing it this way, you'd have to import math and math.floor a divided by b. So basically you just floor, which is always round down even if it's more than 0.5, a divided by b in this situation. And for modulus, this is a kind of weird one. If you do a modulus b, this is the remainder you get if you divide a by b. So all you need to remember for these ones, they're fairly simple, these arithmetic ones. Slash just means divide, as in like, you can think of it kind of like a fraction, like that. You just rotate it 90 degrees, kind of. This little star called asterisk is times. Two of them next to each other is like to the power of, so a to the power of b. Plus is plus, minus is minus. Two slashes is they might call it integer division, they might call it floor division, but basically it floors the result of the division between A and B. So A divided by B, floor, so round down. And modulus gives a remainder when you divide A by B. So obviously the main ones you'll be using are these basic ones, but do remember these two, they do come up, they do want you to know these. So the arithmetic operators, use them for maths. And there's two other types. So there's what are called relational operators. These are things used in if statements. So you've got double equals, which is saying if A is equal to B. And the reason this is a double equals, not a single equals, is because I was doing this, I was saying if A is equal to B. Not, right, I don't know how to explain this well. But basically, this is for setting A to B. This is for checking if A is already equal to B. So remember, if you're comparing two values in an if statement like this, double equals. Also, things like while statements, they also use the syntax. Like, these are called relational operators. It's basically like a condition. So this will either return, this returns a Boolean value. So it will either return true if A is equal to B, or false if it's not. So there's only two values it can have, and if you put it into an if statement, it will only run this code if the result of this is true. So there are a couple of other ones. Exclamation mark equals is not equal to. So just if A isn't equal to B, return true. Greater than, if A is greater than B, greater than or not equal to, if A is greater than or equal to B, less than or equal to, same thing, just with less than. And so those are the relational operators. Basically, you have a condition like this, and if a whatever B, whatever relationship, so equal to, greater than, equal to, not equal to, if that condition is true, then it returns true. And this is most used in if statements, while statements, for, occasionally, this sort of thing. So they're pretty simple. You've definitely seen them before. They're quite useful. They're fairly self-explanatory. I think the only one that would be a little confusing is this, as not equal to. If you get into programming, you would probably know that exclamation mark kind of means not. So for me, I find it pretty simple to remember. But if you're not immersed in programming, it might be a little difficult to remember. And obviously, greater than or equal to, this sort of thing. And so, obviously, the like greater than or equal to and this sort of thing, these ones are normally used to compare numbers because it's hard to evaluate strings like this, because it doesn't. It's hard to think of these as having value, but obviously if I say 2 is greater than 1, it's pretty obvious what the answer to this is. And so there's one more kind of operator which you've also definitely seen before, is incredibly useful, which are called they're either called logical or Boolean operators. Like I said, the word Boolean, Boolean. that just means a value that's either true or false. And so there's three logical operators, logical or Boolean operators. These are for comparing multiple Boolean values. And I'll show you how to use them. So, so if you have any experience in logic gates, these will be pretty easy as well. But AND just means if A is true and B is true. So if A is true and B is true, then it passes. But if either of these or both are false, it fails. So both of these values, A and B, have to be true. For the OR operator, either of them has to be true. So A equal to true, B equal to false. This passes because there's one true value. If they're both false, it fails. But if they're both true, it's okay. And so the last operator is fairly simple. It's the NOT operator. This one doesn't take two like the other ones do. It takes one. You just say NOT A. So what this does is inverts the output. So if A is true, it's going to return false. And if A is false, it's going to return true. And so these are quite useful also in stuff like if statements. So if I've got this really complicated if statement, like if A is equal to B, or A is not equal to C or something, right? You see we're using relational and logical operators here, but you can break this down pretty easily. You might not have these brackets like this. I just put them in so it's easier to see. So let's just get rid of them for now. They don't need values for now. So all this is saying is you can group these together. Like we said before, relational operators, which is what this is, just like is equal to, greater than, less than, not equal to. These return a Boolean value. So this will either be true or false. It can have no other result except true or false. And this one, this logical operator or Boolean operator, compares different Boolean values and then returns itself another Boolean value. So this, let's say this returns true, because A is equal to B, and then this returns false because A is not equal to C. This OR operator sees that this is true and this is false, and then we'll either run the code or whatever. So basically, you'll often see them together. It won't be as simple and obvious. All you've got to remember is arithmetic operators do stuff with maths. So just slash is divide, asterisk, which is this little star, is times. 2 asterisks like this is to the power of, so A to the power of B in this situation. Plus is just plus, minus is minus. Slash is either integer or floor division. Basically, it's A divided by B rounded down, no matter what. It's always rounded down. And then there's the last one, which is the percent operator, which is modulus. This gives you the remainder of A divided by B, if it's like this. So yeah, so you've got to remember the weird ones, the slash and the percent operators, but except from that, fairly simple. You should know all of them. Then there's the relational operators. Equals equals. Are these two values exactly the same? So that can be strings, that can be numbers, that could even be Boolean values, which are true or false, or any type. If they're exactly the same, if A is exactly equal to B, it passes. And then there's the same, there's A not equal to B. So if I could also write this as not A equals B using our logical operator, because all this says is A not equal to B? Is all this exclamation mark saying is not equal to? So that also works on anything. Then you've got less than equal to, oh, you've got greater than, and then less than equal to. These are usually for comparing numbers because they don't really work with strings, because strings don't have set values. And this is pretty simple, you should know these from maths. It's just, you don't have a greater than or equal to character. You normally see one with like 2 lines at the bottom or something. But this, you just say greater than and then an equal sign next to each other. And this just compares numbers, so obviously if A is greater than B, it will be true. Yeah, and that's the relational operators. They take in 2 values. There can be most types, usually numbers. And it returns a Boolean value, always. And then you have logical / Boolean operators, which always take in 2 Boolean values and compare them. So, and both of the values have to be true, or it can be one or the other or both, but not neither. And then the not operator just takes in one thing rather than 2 like the rest of them and just inverts that. So if you pass in a value that is true, like A is true here, it would give you back false, or vice versa. So that's all the operators you're going to need to know in Python. They're not massively difficult to understand, really. There's some do maths and some do Booleans. And all you've got to remember, Boolean just means it's true or false. So that's basically the end of the video, guys. I hope you understand operators now. They're very important for ifs and just like maths and stuff. Thanks for watching. Remember to get the PDF in the description. It has all of these operators in. Maybe not the greatest in-depth explanation of each of them, but they're all there. And yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Yeah, goodbye.